Welcome back to episode number 139 of Our Young Creators, the podcast. Today's episode is an interview I recently did with my good friend, Wendy Livingston Guth. Wendy runs a travel company called Rebel on the Go, and she and her kids recently graduated from our 8-week Becoming a Podcast Family experience. We had an amazing conversation about kids, about travel, about equipping kids with skills like podcasting so they can start to use their voices to create more good in the world. I hope you enjoy this episode. If you have takeaways, tag me over on Instagram at young.pratt and let me know. Enjoy the episode. What began as an experiment to bring my 11-year-old daughter into my business has evolved into Our Young Creators. A podcast, a training center, and a movement dedicated to equipping kids with real-world marketable skills so that they can fund their own brighter futures. We're here to inspire you to turn consumption time on devices into creation time and use technology as a tool to bond and not bicker with your kids. Join us each week as we share the inner workings of our partnership and bring you stories from guests of all ages and from all walks of life on our quest to nurture and to celebrate our young creators.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm so excited today to have Young Pratt here to have a conversation. And Young is the chief dreamer, I love that, of Our Young Creators. And we got to know each other through becoming a podcast family, which Jake and Becca and I took part in recently. An absolutely fantastic program, and I'm really excited to have her talk to us about that and about travel and whatever else we can think of. So welcome, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Wendy, for having me. I'm so excited to be here and have another conversation with you because it's always so much fun.
Oh, I know. You're one of those people that gets me like so excited about things and gets me thinking, and I end up going like a mile a minute afterwards, which is wonderful. And then it's just amazing how the enthusiasm and passion that you have, and it is so contagious, which I love.
And I feel the same about you. I'm still thinking about our conversation from last week and thinking about how that might play out and the fun things we're going to get to do together to give our kids and, take our families on these adventures.
I know. It's just so exciting that really it's just as far as our imagination can take us. Mm-hmm. So we've whetted everyone's appetite a little bit. So tell us about what you do.
Sure. So I'm a 17-year performing arts studio owner turned chief dreamer. I'm also a podcaster and an author. And what I love more than anything is giving kids skills that they can use to serve themselves by creating a future of their dreams, but also equipping them with the confidence to go out there and tell their own stories in their own voices and really create more good in the world, because we definitely need more of that.
Oh, yes. Obviously I cannot agree more. And it's just amazing the skills that they learn definitely gives them confidence,
Mm-hmm.
which really allows them to start creatively thinking and voice. It's really amazing. And and I know you just finished the first round and you're going to start up again.
Yeah, so we'll be starting up again probably going into the fall, and right after the school starts this season. We'll do another session. And yeah, it's so much fun to see these kids light up when we talk about what they can do, because a lot of times kids, especially if they're going to public school, they're not always exposed to all these ideas and these possibilities.
Right.
You know, it's going to, you do this with this tool, it's due at this time. It's very in the box thinking. And what I really, really enjoy is being able to just open these doors to these kids and say, okay, behind door number 1, here's this possibility. What do you think about it? And then door number 2, this is something related, but it's a little bit different. It might be more your speed, you know, and walking them through these different skills, even of putting a podcast together.
Yes.
You know, some kids like yours really like the techie part of it, the behind the scenes production aspects. And then, you know, other kids like being the voice of the podcast and being able to be on camera and on audio. So what I love about podcasting in particular is that no matter what your kids love and how they learn, there is a way for them to utilize the talents and the skills and the passions they already have and take it even further and show them that there's more out there to be discovered. And of course, when we open these doors for kids, I get so excited about the future, because if they're taking charge now and being able to do these things at 10, 11, 12, 13, can you imagine when they're out there, when they're 18, 20, 25 and on, the skills and the confidence and the amount of greatness they're going to take into the world to be used to serve others and make this world a better place? Oh,
yes. Oh, well, you know that I think we share a common passion with that. And I just, you know, I love what it has done for Becca and Jake, and also what the next steps are going to be, because, and it also, they're so surrounded by technology and YouTubers and all of the things that I'm cringing a little bit, but it teaches them to understand what other people do and how they do it. And I think it also allows them to be a little bit more discerning in terms of what they're looking at. And also giving them the confidence to do it themselves, and with parental guidance, possibly, to really explore all sorts of different options. So yes. Oh, I just love it. So, and this sort of ties in or segues into my next question about how does travel fit into what you do? And this may be tie into a conversation that we recently had.
Yes. Yeah, so there's so many possibilities. I love the idea of being able to take kids and their families and go to an exotic location and not only be able to enjoy it together as a family, but to start documenting what they're doing. We talked about the possibility of them being able to serve a community. If we go into a community that's underserved and needs some assistance, if we could go there as a family, not only are the kids learning that serving others is the first priority, that if what they're doing can serve others, they're doing their job right. But then to be able to have the kids start recording and documenting these things in their own voices, because the way they see the world is different than we see the world. And even if you put 5 kids together next to each other doing this, they're all going to come back and share the story differently. It's going to reflect who they are, their passions on what they do. And I just find it so fascinating that we could make this happen for our kids. So they're learning, like you said, how to be discerning. So when they're creating their own stories, when they're creating video and audio, maybe it's written that they like to do. No matter how the creativity plays out, you know, having them understand that what they're doing is important, their voice is important,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that their words and their actions can help someone else positively and be an influence for another kid who's looking at them on camera thinking, wow, I'm 12. I like to travel. I like to game. I like to do all these things too. And the people on the receiving end can, if we can create that Me Too sort of thing, can you imagine the impact these kids could have on their own generation if we take them to someplace else in the world? It can be really anywhere in the world.
Right.
But to really roll all these things together where they're learning to serve, where they're learning to craft their stories, where they're learning how to do the technical parts of it all together, and they can do it on the road, because as they're growing up thinking about what they want to do, if they've had the opportunity to create these messages and these stories remotely, that opens up a whole new world to them professionally about what they think is possible for themselves, because they've seen us as parents do it, they've gotten to do it, and now they get to make the choice on, do I want to work remotely? It's no big deal to live in Africa, because as long as I have an internet, I can share my story. I can connect with people. And so I think the technology we have now is just sort of the tip of the iceberg on what is possible. And again, by exposing our kids to these devices, which I know some parents cringe and they say, my kid is on their device the entire day. And I kind of have to have them take a step back and say, wait, are you on your device all day? Because if so, they're modeling that behavior. How do we look to ourselves, first of all, to model the behaviors we want our kids to learn? And then also, how can we take that one step further and start to have a conversation and start creating things together and asking questions of our kids, really, again, to get them to understand that their voice is important.
Exactly.
Their talents and skills are what they can do inherently, are talents that the world needs, and they absolutely need to be sharing that. It's just a matter of giving them the opportunity and our guidance and our blessing to go out there and use these tools and, again, to create change in the world. And I see the change they're going to create as a very positive one.
Oh, I cannot agree more. Absolutely. And, as what I was thinking of, two things. One is I'm envisioning some sort of a YouTube channel for kids who can have an opportunity to share with other kids their experiences and how did they, one kid can help build a school, one kid, can do a shoe drive, a coat drive, but just something, and that there's this central repository for all of these wonderful, and to me, these are like feel-good stories, and which I think is we need that. We crave that. And the other thing is that, giving kids a voice and going, to some extent I grew up in a, kids are seen but not heard. That doesn't really, it doesn't do justice for kids. Right. So I also see that giving them a voice shows them what is so special about them, what makes them unique and special. And, one of the things, actually, as kids get older, parents start frantically, how do we put the packets together for college and things like that? Well, what if your child has chronicled their beautiful life or their challenges or whatever it is from an early age and can actually visually demonstrate all the wonderful things. And I think it's fantastic. If kids have the opportunity of traveling, and I definitely think that makes them very unique and very special. But regardless, you're chronicling, and then all of a sudden you have this amazing, volumes of volumes of material. That's the word, material. that you can use to put together, because that is a big thing, going off to college. I thankfully am not ready to look at 2 7th graders in that capacity yet. But
it's coming.
Yeah. And I think, the other thing we talked a little bit about was also, like kids sitting with their grandparents and being able to chronicle those. And I will tell you that one of the things that I remember from my childhood was my dad was a historian, and we would go places, and I can vividly remember the conversations that we had. And I would have done anything had I been able to record those. And I think about, and one of the things I'd always hoped that my parents would do with my kids is we were going to go to the beaches of Normandy. We didn't have that opportunity, but I can just imagine had we gone to some of these places and the kids are recording, and the types, how amazing that becomes part of your family history. Oh, it's just, okay, I get goosebumps. Yeah, I know.
No, and speaking of that, the other day I was looking back through my photos because, we all like to keep 2,000 photos on our phone, and they don't often get shared. And I was looking at these different events and places we went to on our last trip to South Korea. And my kids were, they were 5 and 8. And I, more than anything, I had this longing to hear their little voices telling the story of where they were, because can you imagine, that is the ultimate in being able to preserve your family history and document and share with our kids and our grandkids and our great grandkids. It's something that can live on past us. Exactly. And like you said, being able to capture family history. It would have been amazing to be able to sit down with my grandmother and have her speak in Korean. I don't speak that, but to be able to ask questions through a translator and have her tell me the stories of what it was like when she grew up and what she's learned, and how did she possibly raise all these kids without power and running water, and all these things that we take for granted. Exactly. I mean, being able to see her on camera, or even just to hear that voice. I mean, I think the kids these days have it so fortunately because they are able to start capturing that. And saving that. And it may not mean something huge right in this moment, but fast forward 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they still have that. They can pull it out whenever they feel like they want to connect or hear a story, or maybe they've forgotten the details of a story or an adventure you have. To be able to pull out the video and watch those moments as they unfold for the first time, maybe. Maybe it's when they get their first new car and they go for their first solo drive. Being able to capture the emotion, there's nothing like video that can capture the emotion of that moment. And then, just having that chronicled through the years. You have, ages 5 through 7 in one, like a time capsule almost. Is kind of how I view it. Time capsule or digital scrapbook. These are the things that I think that when people think about podcasting, they think about businesses podcasting and sharing marketing tips or, sharing funny stories. But there's very few podcasts that I've found that are created by families, for one, and families who are chronicling these things and sharing stories, because I think the better storytellers we can become, the more lessons people who are listening to these stories can learn and be inspired to do something great.
Oh yeah. That is unbelievably true. And and I mean, when you think about it, the service that you are providing is really amazing. And I highly recommend becoming a podcast family to anybody that because it has so much, it's so much deep value. I mean, it's great to think that the kids could make some money from their skills and help pay for something and teach them some responsibility, but and that is fantastic. And it runs, but it runs so much deeper than that. And that's really the beauty of, and also, frankly, it also offers an opportunity when parents and kids don't always spend a lot of time together. And that between teen years, sometimes finding the reason to spend time, and and maybe, it shouldn't be like that, but okay. It becomes a reason, and this was just a terrific opportunity to carve some time out.
Yes.
And spend time, and really it creates experiences, which are, invaluable, absolutely invaluable. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So I was hoping maybe, and I hope this isn't too personal, but just, tell us a little bit about your family and about your travel experiences. I know you just mentioned spending time in Korea, but I also know that you were just on vacation, weren't you?
Yes, we've taken very fun vacations this year, and a couple of them were not planned. So they were like, okay, let's get everything ready. So this summer, we took a little vacation to Reno, which we went to the University of Nevada, Reno, which is my undergraduate alma mater, and Daphne had the opportunity to attend a girls' math and technology camp there. And we got to stay with friends. So it was really fun to be back at my old stomping grounds and relive those memories. And my kids were not so excited to hear my stories of going to college, but one day they might ask those questions. Who knows?
Yeah.
But, it's so fun because when Daphne was at camp, Sophie and I got to sit together. We were staying with some friends, hanging out with their kids. We were still able to get stuff done. She's learned how to do my Pinterest page and take over that part of my business. So she was creating graphics where, she has to put them on the website, and, there's like actual code she has to put in to do certain things there. So that was super exciting. And as we've been going, I've been just documenting, by picture and video, all these adventures we've been having. Lots of trips to the mountains and lots of fishing and gorgeous locations, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
And going back further, I have the travel bug, and it's time. I can just feel it. There's it's a feeling unlike any other, where you just really want to be someplace different. Not that I don't absolutely love where I live, but surrounded by different languages and different smells and different foods and just different people, and being able to see them in their everyday sort of lives is something that I definitely want more of. So when we talk about taking these kids on these adventures, I'm thinking, okay, what's on my list of places to go? Because there's so many.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It just popped in. I don't know. Have you watched any of Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown?
I have not watched that one.
It just
writing it down
in my head how really kind of cool that would be for kids to do something like that. He travels to incredible places and eats a lot of really incredible food, but it's all about conversations and what you're learning and what you're seeing. And it's actually done in a kind of a gritty sort of way. So I think maybe I think when Becca and Jake have already gone back to Guantanamo Bay, so I think when I get back, I may sit down and share a few episodes with them. But
yeah, that sounds amazing. And I love being able to be in a culture. After I graduated from undergrad, I had the opportunity to travel with people. And for the first year, I performed and traveled, and we performed throughout North America and Europe. But having the experience of having only my backpack, only a suitcase, and, a fellow castmates. There were 150 of us from, I think, 23 different countries. So being able to sit on the bus as we're traveling and hear 4 or 5 or 6 languages and asking questions of them about their culture. And then, we stayed with host families. And that was one of my favorite things because, for 3 days, 5 days, that was probably about the longest we stayed anywhere. We got to live their life with them.
That's fantastic.
And for them, it may have seemed insignificant that they're opening their doors to these strangers who are coming in. But it was so much more than that, to be able to really dive in, ask questions, experience the town that they live in through their eyes and not as a tourist. I mean, it was so magical. And I tell my kids about these stories all the time, because when they see some place they want to go, I'll say something like, hey, when I was 18, I was there, or when I was 23, I was there, or I spent a month there. And they're like, where have you not been? And it's so, and now that I'm on the other side and I have a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old, those are the experiences I want to give them, because they shaped me and what I do and my passions and my love of culture and languages. And I want to share that with them. I don't know if they're ready for that. I mean, because I'm thinking I'm just going to be a digital nomad. I want to go live in for 6 weeks. And then I want to go to Norway and go to the fjords and Finland and all those places that I haven't been yet, but that I can experience with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So, early on in my career, I actually hired Up With People to perform.
Wow.
Actually it was an association luncheon trade show kind of thing. Wouldn't that have been funny if it was when you were there in possibly Washington, D.C.?
That would have been incredible. I know when I traveled, it was much bigger back then than it is now. It's a little smaller, a little more niched down. When I traveled, there were 5 casts, A, B, C, D, right? Okay. That we all left at the same time. Each cast had 150 people in it, right? Yeah. So there's lots of people traveling. So, but yeah, we just had our 20th reunion of our travel year. I didn't get to go to it last week because I was just, to be honest, completely exhausted from doing 3 back-to-back trips. I mean, we were gone 3 or 4 weeks, and I was like, okay, I just need to be home. I just need to be in my bed. I need to have a routine again, because I'm feeling a little bit out of sorts.
Sure.
Yeah, it's great to think back about the connections that we have made. And my youngest, she had expressed some interest in being a foreign exchange student. So I reached out to my friends and said, hey, this is a lot of years down the road. Yeah. My youngest would love to have, an experience of living abroad for 6 months, for a year. Yeah. And it was amazing, because I have 4 or 5 friends who live in Belgium, right? And they said, well, what if we shared her for a year? We all live in different parts of the country. Some of us live in the country, some live in the city, some of us live by the water. We could definitely take her and, keep her for 3 months each. And I was like, okay, I just want to come. It's cool that my kids can have it, but you know what? I'm just going to come enjoy that, because that sounds incredible.
Exactly.
But the generosity of these friends, and even though I may not have talked to them for years, and the distance that we have between us is huge.
Sure.
I know if I were to pick up the phone or to reach out via email and say, hey, I'm coming, on this date, can I come crash on your couch?
Yeah.
And I love that. My kids don't think that's very cool. But I love that, because you're just in the mix, and you get to have real conversations and experience a culture as it should be enjoyed.
Exactly. Well, I think you know that I had au pairs for I think we had a total of 8 of them, and 8 of them, I think so. 9, 8, 9. Yeah. Anyway, most of them were from Germany. So right now, actually, as I plan our trip that is coming up in October, we're going to be actually touring Germany from pair to au pair to au pair. Because we have one from Hamburg, one that lives in Berlin, and one in Cologne, and then a few down in the southern part. And then we're actually going also to Denmark to visit one of our former au pairs. And, I put together, basic itinerary, sent to them, and they're like, oh, well, you're going to come and stay, at my parents' house, and we're going to do this. And it's just, it's their family, and that's the beauty of it. And there's nothing superficial, or it's just, it's family. And and these are beautiful experiences. And really hope that she does end up doing something like that, because those are things you just never forget. Never.
Absolutely. Well, and I think, we talk about things that connect people, and technology definitely does that. But I think travel, though, because it is gritty, it's real. I mean, it's hard sometimes because, when your plane is delayed and you miss your connecting flight and you're stranded somewhere and you're at the airport laying on the floor, there's some grittiness to it, but I mean, it gets real. But the people that you meet in those moments of grittiness and, darkness sometimes, those are the people who rise to be these lifelong friends who, if you just say, hey, I'm coming, they open their arms to you, they open their houses to you. And as we're thinking about sending our kids off to college even, I mean, travel also opens those doors. Maybe they want to go to Germany for a year. Maybe they want to go to Germany for 4 years to study in a college there. And I have a very special place in my heart for Germany because I actually, got to work there for a month as an event coordinator while my cast was traveling on around me. I got to go in advance of them. This little town at the northern tip of Bavaria. And it's one of my most favorite places in the world, and just all the experiences I had in Germany because I was there for a month. Really, I mean, there's nothing else that can really match that because, again, being able to, bike around the city, walk to the castle that's overlooking the hill, experiencing those things that we don't necessarily have here in the States, and just the rich culture and the rich history. And again, travel is so magical, and I think that the more we can get our kids to experience it and see it through their eyes and have them report back through their eyes what the experience was like. I mean, can you imagine? I know you're going to Europe, and I think maybe the Louvre is probably part of your...
I think so.
Yes. But I don't know if they allow it anymore, but I think they used to not allow flash photography. I'm not sure what they do with phones these days. How cool would it be for your kids to have their phones, their videos on, walking through the Louvre, reporting on some of the most famous pieces of artwork in the world, and giving their real, honest opinions of it. Like, what do they think about it? And then wouldn't it be cool if 10 years from now they went back and recreated it and shared their new experiences and got to listen and compare the two and just learn from that?
Yeah, no, it's just. Actually, to be able to capture, because a lot of us, I've traveled someplace, my teens and my 20s, sometimes the same place, but that's the magic, is the ability to capture it and then be able to do a rewind.
Yes.
And that is it's absolutely a magical thing that is just, it adds such a richness to experiences. That, one of the things that we did, and actually my laptop right now is on top of this big box of scanned photos. Talk about, my poor husband scanned 2,000 photos last week. And, I'm looking through them, and really, I wish that I had, I vividly remember the moments, but I wish I had more than just pictures.
Yes.
More than just pictures. So, yeah. And
yes, to capture the sounds. I mean, the sounds of every city you visit are so unique to that city.
Exactly.
It's amazing to me.
Exactly. And, I would love just like you sit down, I'm a very much of a cafe person, even though I don't drink coffee. But just imagine just taking, and I'm sure this is illegal in many places, but snippets of just conversations, just listening. Probably don't understand it, but just being able to take the snippet of a conversation or body language or facial expressions. I don't know. I just, now I'm getting so many ideas for what we're going to do when we're out.
Always so many ideas from our conversation.
Sitting in cafes, and whether, it's going to be Paris or Amsterdam or Berlin. We're going to, So it's absolutely, amazing. And what it also seems is that today the technology has become so much more affordable and easy to access. Because I think that when you travel, whether it's just your cell phone or an iPad. I don't think you need the gargantuan cameras anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. Yeah, literally. I mean, with the, I'm an iPhone fan.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, my iPhone, it takes the most incredible videos and pictures. So, I mean, even taking that, I might be inclined to take my big 35 millimeter camera,
Mm-hmm.
because there's just the feel of taking a picture like that changes the experience for me.
Sure.
But yeah, but having just that phone, I know on our last trip to Korea, the kids were little, so we just got them each a point and shoot camera.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little wrist strap so they could attach it to their own selves, and
Yeah.
it was so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of each day, at the end of each adventure, to come look at those pictures, because we're all in the same places, we were all doing the same things, but their perspective on those different places was so interesting to see. Just like the keen eye they had for certain things, and even though they were little, they're still able to compose a picture. And I think having that experience of being able to have the opportunity to do that, because I know some parents cringe when I say, oh yeah, give your kids a camera, and they think, no way, my camera is my phone and it's valuable. But a point and shoot camera these days is like $30, $40 maybe.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're a kid, that's the best gift you can give to them, because maybe they're developing that skill, that eye that only they have. Yeah. And so if we can start them young by having these experiences of doing adult things, it just gives them permission to do so much more than not having those experiences.
Oh yeah. Yep. Once again, I cannot agree more. Yeah, it's I was just thinking that I spent a summer in Israel, summer of 1983, and I had a camera that was not a point and shoot, and I remember I managed, and it was a whole summer, and I think I came away with like 100 pictures, because you had to. But, you couldn't waste a picture because you had, film. And that the only way, and afterwards it was all like, we got to exchange negatives, that kind of thing. And I think today I could sit and take 100 pictures just staring out the window. So, and the ability, to capture like every moment. I love when you do, you snap the rapid snapping, and because you're capturing even just, the expressions are just amazing, and you never know what you're going to end up with. So yeah, absolutely love that.
The technology these days makes it so easy to do so many things. We just need to, again, give our kids permission to do it and show them and mentor for them, the right way to be on TV, the right way to present themselves, because there's still, definitely a responsibility on our part, parents' part, grandparents' part, on having conversations about, when you put something online, it will live there forever. Exactly. If you would be embarrassed by it, 5 years from now, or if you'd be embarrassed for me to see it, or your principal to see it, it definitely does not belong.
Exactly.
In any sort of exchange, whether online or offline. No exchange is necessary. But I think, again, just that idea of saying, yes, it's okay. I want you to experience it. I want to encourage you to pursue passions and do these things, because with technology, so much is possible for them. Yes.
And again, that's one of the beauties of becoming a podcast family is parents are taking the time with their kids to learn skills, but also to set parameters and that, families are all different, but to be able to set what works best for your family in terms of how, what are the levels of creativity or, that they want their children. There's so much there. And I think, again, taking the time in a program and a course like that is so ideal to, because we all hear, well, I didn't know they were doing that. I wasn't sure. And I mean, I'll admit it. I'm like, until we put like massive restrictions on all of their technology, I'd be like, you were listening to what? I don't do that anymore because now everything has to go through us. But but it's that kind of thing, and it's also definitely heightening their responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
and allowing parents to be part of the conversation instead of just saying flat out no. Let's have a conversation. Let's see what's.
Yes.
So I absolutely love that. So okay, so. I vaguely remember at some point, I don't know if you remember, and he may actually still, the Actors Studio, the Actors Guild. And there was that guy who interviewed, famous people, actors and such. And one of the things he did was like a word association. And I've always wanted to do this. So I hope you're willing to be. Yeah.
Sure, I'm game. I'm game. Sure.
So whatever pops into your head when I say, travel like your life depends on it.
Freedom.
Laughing until your sides ache.
Joy.
Mixing business with pleasure.
Necessity.
Oh, see how fun that was? Well, I absolutely cannot thank you enough for sharing some time this afternoon. Actually, it's morning for you, so your morning. And again, you will send me links to our young creators and becoming a podcast family, so Absolutely. I can share. And yeah, again, the meshing of technology and travel is just. It's where it's at.
I could not agree more, my friend. Thank you so much for inviting me to have this conversation. It's always such a pleasure and so exciting to talk to you about the possibilities because they are endless.
I know. It makes me feel like a kid.
Me too. Well, there you have it. Episode number 139 with my good friend, Wendy Livingston Guth of Rebel on the Go. I would love your thoughts and feedback on this episode. Tag me over on Instagram at young.pratt or head right over to our website, ouryoungcreators.com/139. Until next time, my friends, have an amazing day. Cheers.